Hello, my name is Marina Rodriguez, and this is a presentation for my capstone project, which is vertical alignment and its effects on student outcomes. The purpose of this capstone project was to examine the implementation and usage of AP-style questions in lessons and assessments to determine whether these helped increase student understanding on the unit of inverse functions and composition of functions. The determination is made based on the comparison of test scores between the year AP-style or College Board questions were used and previous years, as well as analysis of student pre- and post-surveys. Measuring understanding using unit assessment scores revealed how effective vertical alignment is. Often when I have taught a lesson, I have found that students do not necessarily inherently want to learn things for the sake of learning. Students are more engaged when there is meaning in the learning they are doing. Vertical alignment is one way in which learning can have more meaning for the students. Even mentioning something like, this will come up in pre-calculus next year, or this will be how this question may be presented on a calculus test, will have students more invested in what they are learning. Other strategies and applications are also important, and vertically aligning the curriculum also helps to do this, as calculus often presents real-life applications readily. I am, therefore, invested in vertically aligning the curriculum in my classroom toward College Board or AP Calculus. Vertical alignment took the form of the AP-style questions being used to present information, as well as assess student understanding. Released AP questions, as well as laying the foundation materials, were used to make this happen. Teacher collaboration is also a fundamental part of successful vertical alignment of curricula. In mathematics, there needs to be important conversations in which a teacher in the higher mathematics course consents to help those who teach those in the lower mathematics courses. Once this willingness to collaborate was established, the teachers were able to set up lesson plans and activities. Professional development programs were used to fill in gaps about the successful implementation of vertical alignment. Particular use was made of materials from the Laying the Foundation program set up by the National Math and Science Initiative. This is because this program is designed to be user-friendly and to really help teachers open up topics to students for discussion and higher order thinking. According to Martineau, Pack, Keene, and Hirsch, if there is successful alignment in the curriculum, it will be easier to measure student progress. This is especially true if alignment is present in the standards and if assessments are set up and analyzed with alignment in mind. If vertical alignment is applied effectively, student outcomes should be positive, with students gaining a deeper, more meaningful comprehensions of the concepts that are being taught to them in a wider context. Based on Spence and McDonald, both vertical development as well as horizontal development should be encouraged in students' own development. This starts with making them look forwards towards their future challenges, and in a math class, this means looking forward to more advanced mathematical concepts. Vertical alignment is considered a powerful tool in the development of student understanding because it allows the student to think in more sophisticated ways and engage in higher order thinking that they will need later on. According to Cangelosi, Madrid, Cooper, Olson, and Harder, exposing students to a topic as part or building block of a more advanced topic they will see later on is a tool that adds value and increases their understanding of that concept. Burroughs, Briner, Kiner, and Bem state that a more vertically aligned curriculum encourages students to engage in discovery, problem-based learning, engineering design, and higher order thinking. Using lessons from more advanced mathematics courses should increase student success and understanding of the subjects. According to Tuscher, Polsky, and Palfreeman, the topic of functions generally and inverse functions specifically is a mathematics concept that students have difficulty with. The topic of inverse functions and the related topic of composition of functions are both the focus unit because high school students, college students, and even pre-service teachers find the topic difficult. Based on Doerr, Meehan, and O'Neill, flexibility and diversity of student thinking in the way in which the problems are solved provides opportunities for meaningful classroom discussion about this topic. The topic is vertically aligned such that it lays the foundation and foreshadows important concepts that will surface in calculus, whether students take it in high school or during their undergraduate studies. For teacher collaboration, Donohue and Katz assert that teacher collaboration is an imperative practice as it provides an opportunity for teachers across grade levels to communicate about the concepts that are most important for their subjects, or most likely to come up in higher level mathematics, and it lets them work together to identify areas of student learning need from the bottom up. The place where teacher collaboration will most likely occur is in the professional learning community meeting held by most departments at least once a week. Collaboration increases teacher knowledge about their own work and content and how it relates to their colleagues' collective work, and it promotes cohesion in a team of educators, which in turn boosts collective teacher efficacy, which then promotes student success, which is the most important thing. Based on Volko and Crispiel's, improvement is possible through quality collaboration that occurs in PLC department meetings, since there is a positive correlation between PLC participation and efficacy amongst the teachers that are a part of that learning community. Working in teams can make the vertical alignment of curriculum a more feasible task. Research suggests that when teachers work in partnerships or in larger teams, they can design, plan, and implement high-quality lessons. According to Yang et al., teachers' preparation programs are currently in the process of addressing issues in science and mathematics education, including that of teachers who lack adequate knowledge of the subjects that they teach. Another issue being addressed is that of a vertically aligned curriculum. Many undergraduate students are unprepared for many of the most basic mathematics and science classes they take upon first entering higher education. Pre-service teachers who were interviewed about this issue have stated that they would like universities to provide training or professional development for teachers, such as the implementation of vertical curriculum alignment. There should be some structure and continuity in the way formative and summative assessments are presented throughout the school years for there to be a maximum benefit to students. The implementation of a program, such as laying the foundation from year to year, can provide this much needed coherence. The research supports the idea that vertical alignment has many benefits for an Algebra 2 classroom, and specifically a unit over inverse functions and composition of functions. Bringing in lessons and particularly assessments from AP Calculus and College Board down to an Algebra 2 level helps improve student understanding no matter what the background or ability of the students. Teacher collaboration as well as professional development can help a teacher implement vertical alignment successfully. The purpose of this project was to examine the effects of implementing College Board or AP-style questions on students' understandings of the concepts in a unit on inverse functions and composition of functions. There were 3 questions that guided this project. The first was whether the implementation of College Board or AP-style questions such as those found in the National Math and Science Initiative's Laying the Foundation curriculum materials would increase student understanding and mastery of an assessment on the unit in question compared to previous years. The second was whether the vertical alignment between Algebra 2 TEKS and AP Calculus standards would improve student mastery on an Algebra 2 unit assessment. The third was about what challenges would be faced when implementing vertical alignment between mathematics courses. The project took place at a predominantly Hispanic secondary school in Southeast Texas. The population of the school also includes students that are African American and Asian American and white, but the majority of the student population is designated as Hispanic. The participants of the study were students in an Algebra 2 class where inverse functions and composition of functions are covered in a unit. There was an adjusted new daily class schedule of 56-minute periods, whereas in previous years the classes were 90-minute blocks, and both students and teachers were still adjusting to this change early in the school year. There were 83 participants the first year when no AP or College Board style questions were used, and 73 participants the second year when the use of the more rigorous questions was put into place. The unit on inverse functions and composition of functions took place during a 2-week period of 11 school days towards the beginning of the first semester of the school year. It was started after the teacher collaborated with colleagues who teach higher mathematics classes, such as pre-calculus and calculus, and after taking some of their advice on which materials to use. Students received direct instruction on the different laying the foundation lessons, during which there were checks for understanding. After that, they would practice independently and in groups using a laying the foundation worksheet. The students then completed a project about inverse functions and composition of functions. An assessment was administered on day 11 of the unit. For this study, data was collected using a district-based software for administering assessments. The main focus of the study were the TEKS A2.2b, which is for the students to be able to graph and write the inverse of a function using notation such as f inverse x, and A 2.2D, which is for students to write the composition of two functions, including the necessary restrictions on the domain, to determine if the functions are inverses of each other. Students were assessed using multiple choice and check all that applied questions. The students were assessed on day 11 of the unit on inverse functions and composition of functions. The average score for those two TEKS was compared between the students from the first year, when no AP or College Board style questions were used, and from the second year, when these tools were implemented. Improved scores were looked at for each of these TEKS for the second year when the AP style questions were used. After analyzing the data gathered from the assessment software, the class average on the unit post-test average decreased by 4.03 points for TEK 2.2b, which is for the students to be able to graph and write the inverse of a function using notations such as F inverse X, and it increased by 0.38 points for TEK 2.2d, which is for students to use the composition of two functions, including the necessary restrictions on the domain, to determine if the functions are inverses of each other. The results show a decrease in the average scores on the post-test for TEK A2.2b and a modest increase in the average test scores for TEK A2.2d. The assessment results did give some insight as to some student progress, but the results were not as good as expected. The teachers will be able to track the student progress from year to year, and this will provide a starting point. The data was not consistent with the literature with regards to development of student understanding, although the longer-term effects are yet to be determined. Students were engaged in the lessons and activities, but more close monitoring of specific students is needed. Perhaps the scaffolding of the lessons themselves needs to be readjusted. The students should have a deeper understanding of the topic when they go on to pre-calculus and calculus, but this was not evidenced in the test scores. There could have been other factors that could affect the way the lessons were received, such as the adjustment to the new daily class schedule of 56-minute periods, whereas in previous years the classes were 90-minute blocks that the students and teachers were still adjusting to so early in the school year. This was the first time that the laying the foundation materials were used, and this could have played a role. The laying the foundation curriculum materials provided much support in terms of higher order critical thinking questions for the teacher to pose to the students, and their pre-calculus and calculus teachers also provided support to the Algebra 2 teachers. This is a list of references used for this study. Thank you for viewing my presentation.